Welcome to episode 133 of the Left Behind Game Club. This week we play Sayonara Wild Hearts. Let's get right into it.
You're listening to the Left Behind Game Club.
Welcome to the Left Behind Game Club, our never-ending attempt to make sure that no game is left behind. I'm your host, Jacob McCord, and today I have two friends with me. The first friend, you know him, you love him. His name is Michael Ruffalo.
I'm excited to talk about a fever dream of a game.
And here to talk about a fever dream along with us, his second time on the show. Welcome back, Kam Konek.
Hi, hello, it's me, your boy, ready to also talk about a fever dream as I am just a fever dream of a person. So
Wow.
Thanks for having me back.
We couldn't have picked a better guest.
Thank you.
For folks who don't know, all the podcasts that you do,
Yes.
please tell us about the things you do on the internet.
Yeah, so, blanket-wise, you can see all of the podcasts that me and my co-host Nathan Brandt do. It's Some Good Shows, somegoodshows.biz, or at Some Good Shows on Twitter. We have a variety of audio programs for you to enjoy with your ears. We have the Video Game Robot Show, which is basically a show where we have a randomized robot that spits out a video game based on prompts, and then we just kind of pitch that with a guest. We've got Hamburg Lore, which is about like corporate and food mascot lore. We've got The Big Three, which is our My Hero Academia podcast, where we basically are just kind of going through that show and doing recaps and analysis and just talking about it. Yeah, that's pretty much all of our stuff there. Currently, we're in the middle of one of our seasonal shows called Everything Ranked, where it's us and two additional guests. For 6 episodes, we basically just take various nouns and pit them against each other in the field of battle and decide which one is the best thing. And so that's pretty fun. So if it's pretty stupid and a podcast, chances are we have something to do with it.
And I think you can find all those again at somegoodshows.biz.
Correct. Because we found that .biz was way funnier. So we went for it.
And again, if you want to check out Cam on the last episode of this show he was on episode 84, Oxenfree.
Yes.
So go ahead and check that out, along with all the great shows that he does. We're very happy to have you back. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. This is a blast. Also, because of this show, I got real excited when Oxenfree 2 got announced. So that's pretty cool. So thanks for that.
Hey, you're welcome. We're going to do something with you that we did last time you came on the show.
Yes.
But before we recorded, we're going to run you through the Gauntlet once again.
Okay,
which
ready.
is just a bunch of questions so that people can learn about your gaming taste.
Got
Michael, take it over.
And this is, Jacob, this is where you insert the gong sound again?
Yep, there's not been a gong yet, but hey, it's a
But
bit.
it's going to happen, right?
Gong.
And the Gauntlet commences! Mortal Kombat. Okay, so Cam, we're going to hit you with 5 questions. Feel free to answer them rapidly. Don't think about them too much. We want your gut instincts. Okay, what is your most controversial gaming opinion?
Oh, God. My most controversial gaming opinion is that a lot of games that people want sequels to or remakes of probably don't need them or deserve them, and those old games aren't going away. It's okay. It's fine. I promise.
Which one in particular?
Oh, God. A lot of them. I feel like it's a lot of anytime... I'm a big Ape Escape fan. I don't know.
That's a very good, good example.
I don't know if Sony today would make a good Ape Escape game, but those old games still exist, so I'm good,
Okay, perfect. What is your earliest gaming memory?
My earliest gaming memory was, I guess it was seeing some friends on the playground play Pokemon Red and Blue for the Game Boy. And I was like, what is that? What's going on? And then little did I know, 3 or 4 years later, it would consume my life entirely.
Amazing. What game have you spent the most time playing?
Game I've spent the most time playing, I think, is probably Destiny 2. I'm inching close to about 1,000 hours on that.
Wow.
I love that game a lot.
That's crazy.
And I only play like one class too. I just really like Warlock. I don't really care enough to play the other ones.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
What is your favorite console generation?
Favorite console generation for me, probably the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era. Just because I think the games that came out then were not only all really good for the most part, like the highs were very high, but there was some real weird stuff in there that I just really appreciated. They just took a swing for, especially on the GameCube. Oh my God.
Beautiful.
Let's talk about Mr. Mosquito for a whole podcast.
Yeah. Let's talk about Cubivore. Let's go.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a bunch of weird ones.
Yeah.
There's so many weird games out there.
Have you ever pretended to be sick to get out of something so you could play a game instead? And if so, which game?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
I skipped on to work yesterday to be here.
Hey, awesome. I think like some of my earlier ones, like I definitely did fake sick whenever I was like younger, because I just wanted to play like whatever I was playing at the time on my PlayStation, which was usually like a Crash Bandicoot game or a Spyro game or a Gex game, which additionally we also don't need another Gex game. But yeah.
Mike's thinking about it. Do you want more Gex?
Maybe I do. I did play all the Gex games. I did really enjoy them. I don't know if that shtick would like play today.
I don't think it would at all.
Like that was a weird moment where James Bond was like top of the consciousness.
Yeah.
There was Austin Powers.
It's like Gex is just what happens if Austin Powers and Duke Nukem just like met in the middle and was also a gecko.
And had the Geico guy in there.
Yeah, and I just really don't think that would work well today.
I'm with you. All right, well, that's a Gauntlet. Thank you for playing. I'm sure our audience has a much better idea of what you're like. And
winded, but I persevered. We got through it.
This is not a podcast about Gex, though. This is a podcast about Sayonara Wild Hearts.
That's our bit.
I stole it. I have been doing it for too long.
That's fine.
That is their bit.
Do what you gotta do.
I will admit. That is a Some Good Shows original right there.
Yeah, copyright.
Developed by Simogo, published by Annapurna Interactive, available on everything: PS4, Switch, iOS, macOS, Windows, and Xbox One. Originally released on September 19th of 2019. We start this part of the program with a segment we call the Fast Pitch. It is a one-sentence description of the game that we are about to talk about. Who wants to jump in first with their one-sentence pitch on this one?
I have 3 words to describe this game, and I can't take credit for it because I saw it on Twitter, but Carly Rez Jepsen.
That's very good. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Why use more words when few words good?
Exactly.
That ruins me. Now everything I'm going to say has to be longer than that.
Yep.
Okay, I'll take a less eloquent crack at it. It is an estrogen-fueled dance pop on rails rhythm game.
Ooh. Mine is easier. It's What If Parappa the Rapper but drugs?
Which drugs, Jacob?
Lick a stamp and find out.
Oh.
I feel like Parappa the Rapper with drugs is just Parappa the Rapper. But like if something had to be going on there, but...
All right, I can try again. What if Gitaru Man but Neo?
Okay, yeah,
neon,
sure.
But neon, neon, not
I'll give you
Neo.
that. Absolutely.
We will accept that answer.
All right, thank you so much. Let's give you a little bit more information about what happened when this game came out. This is the time capsule. We're just going to talk about what happened in 2019 and what happened around this game. Let me tell you some games that were released in the same week as this game, just to give you the right frame of mind. The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening for the Switch. Untitled Goose Game came out literally the same week, as well as the remake of Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch for Switch, and then remastered for PS4 and PC. Did y'all play any other of Simogo's games? Most notably, they put out a bunch for iOS, but most notably Year Walk and Device 6. Play them both. Super dope. Did you play either of those two or anything else Simogo did?
I had never even heard of them before this.
Same.
This is the first Simogo joint I have played.
Same. I had no conception that they were a developer or that they made games, or like I had no context coming into this as to like zero expectations other than the cover art looked very feminine and very like dancey. It just looked like a neon dance floor.
Okay, well, let me give you a little context on those two games. Year Walk is about the Swedish tradition of year walking. And it's like an adventure game that you play on your phone, and Device 6 is an adventure game that's text-based. And I think I remember correctly, like, you'll essentially, like, flip through a book to find clues and stuff. Super
that sounds
dope.
really
super
cool, yeah.
That's
this game
almost
is
a game that you both love.
Does not surprise me at all. Like, this game also oozes, like, the Swedish music pop factory at every pore.
Yeah.
Most notably, this game was one of the tentpole releases for Apple Arcade, and that's originally how I played it. Did y'all ever engage with that free trial of Apple Arcade?
Never.
I actually had Apple Arcade for a little bit. I didn't have an iPhone whenever it came out, but whenever I switched over to one, it was like maybe a year ago. I was like, yeah, let me check out Apple Arcade. I want to play Grindstone, sure. And I did, and I'm like, yeah, this is very cool. Like, there was some neat stuff on there. This was like right around the time I think Fantasian had just come out on Apple Arcade. So I'm like, yeah, I'll play an RPG. Sure, great. I enjoyed it. I have since like let my sub kind of lapse on it just because I have been playing so many other things. But I think it's cool. I think, like, for me specifically, launching Apple Arcade with this was pretty cool. Just because, like, this was something that I had seen trailers for around, like, PAX time, like, going, like, a year or two before the game came out, and I was just, like, in at the get-go. Like, I was
really?
like, yeah, I'm gonna play the heck out of this game. And I was like, oh, wow, they're, like, launching Apple Arcade with Sayonara Wild Hearts. That's really cool. Hilariously enough, I think that is the worst place to play it, but, you know, it's either here or there.
What was the hype cycle leading up to this game?
Man, I think I just remember a lot of my friends who would go to PAXs. I wasn't at these particular PAXs, but a lot of friends who would go to them and just be like, oh man, like, I played this one level of this really cool game. It's like, a lot of people just talking about the trailer and the style, because around then, like, and still kind of now, like, there's not a whole lot of games that kind of look like it or have the same kind of vibe, except for stuff that you would see, like, back in, like, the PS2 days or something like that. So I think it wasn't people being, like, outwardly like, oh my god, this is game of the year, like, level, like, hype cycle, but I felt like it was a lot of people just talking about how really cool it looked, and how good the soundtrack is, which it is. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about your favorite track later, because I'm sure you have thoughts.
Hard question.
Okay. But yeah, I played a couple games because I ended up getting, and it was weird because they added controller support to iPad like right at the same time. So I distinctly remember the first time I played it, Apple Arcade, getting my iPad with a PS4 controller and playing this game and a few more. Mm-hmm. But I would agree with you that I played it on the PS5 through like PS4 emulation this time around.
Yeah. And
that is definitely like on the couch, headphones, such a better way to play the game.
Yeah, for this, when I replayed it, I just like sat on my couch with like, I have it on Switch, and I just like played it on my giant TV with my sound bar, and like chef's kiss perfect. Like, that's, you need like a good sound system and just something to like just stare right at, you know.
Mike, how did you play it?
I played it on the Xbox One. I think it's on Game. If it's not on Game Pass, it was on sale when we were considering it, and I think I got it for half off. And played it on my Xbox One. And we'll talk
and
more
first
about
time
that.
You played it too, right?
Yes, first time.
Cool.
I came in with zero expectations. I think I had seen this game maybe once or twice. It had not made a serious like impression on me. I think I had just paid attention to it because it was Annapurna published.
Bangers only.
Honestly. Yeah.
But that being said, yeah, I did not pay that much attention to it. So this is an interesting dive into the world.
Okay. I have one more question before we really dive in. What is your background on rhythm games? Because I think that Cam and I probably have more experience. Mike, I don't know. Are you a rhythm game guy?
I played a ton of Guitar Hero and Rock Band. I played a ton of like Guitar Hero 2, Guitar Hero 3. I had Guitar Hero World Tour. I had both Guitar Hero drums and I also had Rock Band drums. It was one of my favorite things, and I was that guy that would like keep them in my trunk, so that way if I was at a party and people are like, you want to play some Rock Band or something, and they're like, oh yeah, but we just don't have all the stuff, I'm like, don't worry, I got you, let's go.
This probably kind of answers a little bit of my history and enjoyment of rhythm games, but I have a full Rock Band 4 setup ready to go in a hockey bag in my living room, just like grab and go whenever anybody wants to use
That's
it.
hardcore.
Like I am like, today, like I have like, I will, if somebody's like, hey, I want to play Rock Band, like I'm like, all right, cool, bet, let's go. Cause I just adore rhythm games. Like Good.
What about other rhythm games like Patapon or Parappa or Guitar Man, or like what other rhythm games come to mind that you guys have either loved or, you know, had experiences with that maybe you bounced off of?
You named a few of my favorites right there, like Parappa the Rapper 2.
Yeah.
Despite that game being a 90-minute video game, I love it. I actually have a copy in my office somewhere.
Yeah.
Unsurprisingly. And then I didn't love Patapon. I don't know why, but I just bounced off. I couldn't.
It's a weird
thing.
Vibe
with me.
It's a weird thing. Yeah.
But a non-traditional rhythm game, because it has like, it's a battler too. It's like a weird action adventure game too, because I love even Guitar Man. I also have a copy of that in my office because I love that game.
Great game. Yeah.
But I guess I just like traditional rhythm games, not ones that kind of. I'll play Donkey Konga with you because I have a full set in my parents' basement. Good stuff. I don't know why Patapon wasn't my thing.
I loved Patapon. I had a lot of fun with it.
It's really cool. Yeah.
What about Rhythm Heaven?
Love
Did you guys
Rhythm
get into that? Okay.
Love
Never
Rhythm
played
Heaven. It's so weird, dude. Oh my god, it's so good. It is just a really neat rhythm game in the sense that it definitely is one, and you're playing it and it feels like one, but at the same time, like it's just these like little vignettes of just you doing things, and they're just like in time to the beat, and it's so cool.
It's weird.
Rhythm Heaven's great. That's something that I do think we need another one of, and I know Nintendo can do it because in Super Mario Party, the like rhythm game, like mini game mode or whatever, like that was basically just a Rhythm Heaven game. And it was great. Like I adored that. And so like I'd love to see that. I just really love rhythm games. I like Western rhythm games a little bit more. Like I
Beat Saber.
I love Beat Saber.
Audio Surf. I don't know if you guys ever played Audio Surf.
Yes.
I sunk maybe 100 or 200 hours using Audio Surf as like a chill out.
It's a
use
great
it as an
game
audio
for it.
visualizer, and just like I would do it like in class in university, just being like zoned out of the lecture with headphones on and just like using my mouse, sliding across the 3 different lanes to like, you know, get all the colored dots. Yes, I
Is that like
a
a frequency amplitude cousin?
I have not.
Do you remember
played,
Frequency and
I
Amplitude?
do
Yeah.
remember them, but I haven't played them, so I don't have.
It looks like it, but it's kind of not. Like you're not like lane switching. It basically just like puts blocks based on literally whatever song you input into the game, and depending on like what mode you're playing, you want to get certain types of blocks and like stack them up in certain orders and stuff, and you're just kind of, you know, surfing the tunes.
Absolutely, and I loved it. I loved every moment of it. So yes, that's the context that I have coming into this.
Yeah, I've never really been big into a lot of like East Asian rhythm games. Like those are kind of a little bit more hardcore for kind of what I like, and especially like as I'm, you know, getting a little bit older, I just want to play rhythm games to have fun. I like getting better at them, sure, but it's not like my primary goal to make sure that I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down and get like a full combo on this track, and this track. You know, like I I absolutely adore just like hanging out. I've been playing a lot of Clone Hero, which is just like an independently developed, basically clone of Guitar Hero, but it is so good. And there's like such a vibrant community behind it, making a bunch of like really weird and fun and sometimes hilarious charts. And so that's been like my main output lately. But yeah, like I went to, it was like probably 2019 or something, because it was right before COVID. But me and Nathan, like I went to go visit Nathan, and we went to an arcade in their hometown, or in their town, and we just spent so much money playing just weird rhythm games that they had there. It was an absolute blast.
So again, more Clone Hero than Taiko Drum Master if you're picking.
I'll play Taiko Drum Master. Like the stuff that I'm like kind of turned off to is a lot of like DJ Max or like Bimani stuff. Those are like a little bit more technically minded in a way that it's not for me. I'll play them like very casually just to like hang out with people if they want to, but I'm not like I'm never gonna ever consider myself even remotely close to being good at Beatmania.
Wild. That seems like a wild game that I could never.
Could never. That's so much. Like that's one of those things, like that and Osu are like games that you have to like devote your entire life to, I feel like.
Okay, so we've talked about our background on rhythm games. Why don't we talk about like what this game in a basic sense is? I know that you said Carly Rez Jepsen.
Yeah.
But I think that Rez is a very good analog, just because it is like short levels, techno music, very Swedish, and just vibes that'll make you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rez is the forebearer for this game. Like,
sure, yeah.
If Rez had not tripped over itself at times, we would not have this game.
Yeah, like I played Rez, and like I get the same kind. Like whenever people say that like Rez is like one of the most important games to them, it like emotionally like really touched them or something. Like this game is my Rez. I feel like.
Really?
Rez didn't like hit for me as hard. I thought it was a really cool game, and I like it a lot. But it never connected in a way that a lot of people like said that it did for them, and I have that exact feeling about this.
Wow. I didn't think anyone would feel that strongly about this game, but
I adore
I'm
this
excited
game.
to dig
Just
into
you
it.
wait, buddy.
One thing that we didn't mention is like they almost create this universe around tarot cards.
Yeah.
So if you're like a big tarot card person, you will immediately recognize like Mike, you're throwing up hands.
No, well, that's also one of like. There's just so much in the setup of this game that makes it feel like it's just hyper feminine energy. Mm-hmm. Just like it's just like a rush of estrogen, because it's like there's the tarot, there's Queen Latifah talking to you, like all
Queen
the
Latifah.
characters are women, and it goes from I would just say this girl or this young woman to this like powerful heroine who's doing like massive flips and jumps and flying through space and into the
sword
metaverse
fighting on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
The coolest thing you can do as a human being, by the way.
Dodging rockets on a motorcycle, fighting a
being installed
three-headed
into
neck
VR.
dog.
Yeah. Got turned into a Game Boy Color cartridge.
Yes.
Let's go.
And it's like,
so dope.
if I were to think like, what is the polar opposite of this game? It's like a God of War or a Call of Duty that is just like aggro testosterone, tap it right into my veins. That is the most like grunt at the screen and throw your controller at the ground as you can, right?
Yeah,
and this
right.
just felt like the opposite. Like everything about it was, generally forgiving and kind and warm and just gentle the whole way through.
Mm-hmm. The story, is it important to say
No.
here? It's basically like, hey, the major arcana, that's who the bad guys are based off of, or the bad folks rather.
Yeah.
Cam, sorry.
So, like, I think that the story is, it's more of like, it kind of reminds me a lot of like, almost like an allegory, really. Because like the entire point of the game, and if I'm getting ahead of myself, please stop me. I don't want to interrupt the show or disrupt the flow. But like the entire point of the game is, you are this girl who has been going through this like intense heartbreak, and like as you go through this journey to save this other world, you bring harmony and peace back into their world and everything. Like the entire thing is an allegory. Like yeah, like, you know, you're in this game going through this other world, but like it's really like at its core just an entire, like it's literally just front to back just a story about getting over a heartbreak and learning to love yourself again. It's all about like the fact that, you know, at the end of the quote story, you know, like all of the, like, instead of like, you know, punching and like destroying their hearts, you like go in and you kiss them. Oh man, that shit gets me just messed up every time. Like the fact that the entire point of the game is that you should just like follow your heart, and no matter like how scary or terrifying it is to go through, and you will eventually, you know, make it through and you will be okay in the end. Like, I think that's like a really, really powerful message. The music leans into that a whole lot. Like the core gameplay of the entire game is about that because of the like heart collectibles that you have to pick up on the ground. Like those are the only safe zones. Even if you don't think they're safe, you just have to trust where your heart is leading you and you will be okay in the end. It's really cool. I love this game.
Interesting. Because I was gonna fight with you a bit on that, because like there are a lot of moments in this game where they make you take a blind corner and you end up crashing, or you end up, you know, like they don't give you...
It's an allegory, Michael.
Well, now I understand Cam's point here, because I saw that as like, this is designed so you play this multiple times, more than like you learn what's going to be coming up ahead, you know where to position yourself, and that way you get it. But I'm understanding a bit more now that they might be putting little treats along the road to, as you say, follow your heart.
Yeah, like all of the like quote like harder levels and things like that. And I was like looking for this specifically because I wanted to make sure I was not just making up random stuff here on a video game podcast. But I was like looking for this stuff.
No one ever does that.
Right. Who would go on the internet and tell lies,
I've
right?
never done that.
I was really I was like making sure that I was looking for okay, there's a hard part coming up, like the ending boss sequence, for example. Like every single, like, yeah, like the attacks are like sort of telegraphed, but everything's moving fast. But if you just look for where, quote, your heart is leading you, then you will be okay. Like those are all the safe zones at all times. Like it's just a really cool thing. And once I played through the game my very first time. I played through it on stream, which was a bad idea because I did cry at the end. I cry every time I play this. Who am I kidding? I didn't really like. I knew that there was something like really special here with it, but I didn't really quite get it, and so I just like took a week, just kind of sat on it, was looking at like some what other people were talking about online, and then just like started playing it again on my own, and then it just kind of like clicked for me that like the theme itself, like the main theme of the entire game and what it wants you to get from it is literally represented like in the gameplay and the music, and I think that's so cool.
Mm-hmm. And beyond that, like it's a queer story, which like we don't get enough of.
Absolutely,
which I love. I very much love. Yeah. So like, in addition to like just a universal story about love, it is a queer love story that we get very rarely in games.
Totally.
I was going to say this game's gay as hell, but I wasn't sure what it was about it that made me feel that way.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I won't mention that. But I'm so glad to hear you guys felt that way as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Like, and I think that it's really, I think this thing is incredibly well made, like, in that sense. Especially just based on the fact that, like, I am a straight dude, and it, like, makes me like this game brings me to tears every single time I play it, and I've played through it like 9 or 10 times now, and I like cannot get through it without crying at one or multiple points in this game.
That's art.
It is. It super is. The first time I played this, I have not quit thinking about it since.
So like so each of the levels, some of them are as short as like 30 seconds, and then like some of them can get a little bit longer, like 2, 3, 4 minutes. I've not looked at the exact length, but that's what it felt like. Maybe the last one is a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
And then there's an arcade mode that you can unlock after doing it the first time, where you can just play through the entire game.
Yes.
Do you play it each time just trying to get like gold? Because you can get gold, silver, bronze, depending on how well you score. Each time you play through, do you basically just play through the main story, or have you tried the arcade mode as well?
So I have gone through and done like gold on every level, just because I wanted to, like, this game clearly wanted me to do that, and I took so much from it that I felt like I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll play on your terms for a little bit. So I like went through and did all the individual levels, but like every time I sit down and replay it, it's always just the like album arcade mode. I super wish that was what the game just shipped with to start with. It wasn't like something that you had to unlock at the end, because I think like I think that it works. Like they were heavily pitching this as like the marketing tagline for this game is a pop album video game, and it super is. But it's weird that it gets like broken up by Queen Latifah saying gold rank, and then you have to like go to the next stage and hit A and then move on from there. Like that stuff's neat. I just wish it was just like you boot it up. Like the game's only like an hour long. It's the length of an album. And so I really wish that it was just like, hey, just sit down, play it. It's fine. And then just like, okay, then you can go back and do individual stages. That's like my only gripe with this game, honestly. But for the most part,
they got Queen. I'm sorry, Cam, go ahead.
Yeah, for the most part, though, like whenever I sit down and play this thing, I'm playing album arcade because it's just front to back.
Yeah, on the Queen Latifah front that they got her for like 2 hours, and they're like, hey, you're gonna read all this stuff right now. But that's what I love about Annapurna is they have these connections to like motion pictures, and they sometimes bring those folks in. I mean, 12 Minutes, which is one of the latest games that they published, brought in James McAvoy and Daisy Ridley, as well
Willem
as
Dafoe.
Green Goblin. Thank you. I'm like, I can't know, why am I thinking of Green
It's okay,
Goblin?
I got
Here
you.
we are. Thank you. But I think she added like some real gravity and like, continued. She was like the perfect person, and I think I didn't realize it until this playthrough that like Queen Latifah is the perfect person to do the narration.
100%. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because this game like is like all about like empowerment, and about strong women.
There's just like a warmth in her voice too.
Yes.
Like it really, obviously, like this very much could have been like her just showing up for a couple of hours and just like getting a pretty sweet paycheck. But also even if that were the case, it really didn't feel like it, even though she had like pretty like limited lines except towards like the very beginning and the very end of the game.
Because I didn't feel that way. Like I felt like, yes, her voice was familiar, which tickled a part of my brain. And I was like, who is this? Yeah. Who is this talking right now? Why do I recognize this voice? Like, and there's definitely like a calmness, a warmth, something in there. But I also felt like that role could have been played by just about any voice actress, and it would have come across the same. I just didn't feel like she was so core to the experience of it.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, go ahead.
There's an article on US Gamer by Hiran Cryer, and they say that she was a last minute ad, and they had essentially like way early in the process said like, we want Queen Latifah, and then like with weeks before release they said like, or weeks before they locked the game down, Annapurna was like, yo, we got Queen Latifah. So I think that you're right, Michael, that this could have been, the way it was structured is they didn't need her. It was very much just left open to like a very strong female narrator. But I think that just maybe it's the role she plays and the trailblazer she was and the warmth in her voice that I appreciated, even though I would tend to agree with you, like her saying gold rank like, totally is not, didn't need that.
Yeah, I think that like I'm not gonna say that like she was the only choice, because I super don't think that's the case, but like I think she did a great job. I think she was a good choice. Clearly they wanted her, and it's cool that they got her, but like I think that there are definitely other voice actors that could have absolutely nailed that too.
Yeah.
Let's fantasy cast this role. Who else could it be?
God, I don't know.
I know, I'm putting you guys on the Jennifer Hale.
Yeah.
I mean, like the honest answer for me is like anyone who is a voice actress could step in and play this role. Like I don't think it required I don't think it required a lot of lift or like uniqueness to do what she did here as the narrator.
Yeah.
I don't mean to like take away from
No.
the actual like performance of it or the what she did, but I also just didn't feel like that was such a crucial element that it changed the experience.
It was very nice to have.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. I thought I didn't know it was her whenever I first played it. And then like at the end of the credits, it's like, oh, and Queen Latifah. And I'm like, oh, hey, that's cool. And that's like all I've really thought about it. It's like, okay, cool. That's a neat thing, you know?
Absolutely. That's exactly how I felt. I was like, this voice is so familiar. I was scratching a part of my brain. And then at the end, it was Queen Latifah. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember her.
So I want to shift gears a little bit here.
Yeah.
And like, we can talk more about the soundtrack in a little bit, but before we do that, I want to talk about like what this game looks like. I think they've like created a really cool, nifty art style that is just a mishmash of like, hey, I feel the like tarot card inspiration, but it's almost like, what if like Andros from Star Fox on the Super Nintendo was the entire vibe of this game.
Yeah, it's like, what if Andros, but with heavy bisexual lighting? That's just Sayonara Wild Hearts, like visually in a nutshell, and I think that's cool.
A lot
honestly,
of purple, blue, and neon pink.
Purple, neon pink, exactly.
Sorry, go ahead, Cam.
I just think that like the way this game looks, I just cannot picture, like I can't think of like for the life of me, and there probably is, but like there's just not a game to me that like looks as visually striking as it. Like, you know how sometimes with not just with like indie games, but with a bunch of like other games, you're just like, oh, I can't tell if it's this game or this game. You just look at this and you're like, oh, that's Sayonara Wild Hearts, if you know what it is. Obviously it doesn't really look like anything else. They like really went like all in on this really stylized approach, and I think it really paid off.
Yeah, and they crank everything to 11. It's like, not only is your character like wearing a mask and riding a motorcycle, but you're also riding a motorcycle on roads that are collapsing in front of you, and you're jumping gaps, and then there are rockets coming and you're jumping over the rockets, and it is digital, it seems like, at every step. Like, to me, this game in every respect, visually, sonically, every element felt like it brought me to the year like roughly 2010, where there was like LaRue, and there was like Charlie XCX, and like this like synth wavy dance pop that had like really started to come out. And there was a lot of, you know, like when I think of LaRue a lot specifically, I think like hyper androgynous, you know, and that's kind of what this game reminded me of, you know, made me feel like the same vaporwave colors and aesthetics, only like cranked a little bit higher on the contrast. Felt like this is, you know, this is what this game was coming from.
Yeah, I am like the biggest Churches fan ever, and like their first album, The Bones of What You Believe, that came out in 2013, is precisely exactly what this game is. And so when you say around 2010, Mike, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So if you like this, you'll like that first Churches album. Are there any albums that you think of, Cam, when you think of this game?
Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion, immediately, like with a bullet. I think that, and this will answer my thing later, but if you like this game at all, or if you like that album at all, you will like the other thing a whole lot if you haven't checked them out.
Yeah, that album came out in 2015, but was recorded through 2014. So yes, that is like, there's a vibe, an era.
Yeah, like
this game.
Ooh, man. Yeah, are we into the soundtrack part now? Then I guess?
Let's do it. Hit it.
I adore this soundtrack. Swedish. I listen to it constantly. I literally, the first thing I did after I finished playing this game was go over to iam8bit and just immediately buy the vinyl record, which I play constantly. I do wish that like on streaming services that it was in game order and not the first so like annoying. 5 or 6 tracks are the ones with vocals, and then the ones after that are the instrumentals. I do appreciate that they do have the like last stage music, the like 8.5-minute medley that just absolutely kicks ass. I man, there's like so much emotion poured into all of this stuff, and like lyrically looking into it too. I think it's really neat that it's a little dorky also. Like there's a lot of like explicit like gaming references in there, but also still talking about, you know, like heartbreak, or like you know, the song Begin Again, which is just about like, all right, I guess we're just
favorite.
I'm starting over. That song is so good.
My favorite.
It's so good.
Easily with a bullet. I heard Begin Again, and I was like, because again, it evokes that same like early 2010s like synthwave, like the midnight churches that I just really adore. And so that was the song that I gravitated towards first, which is surprising because I thought, because that's like the first major,
that's like the first
level.
That's like the first like climax point rather of like, hey, like stuff is happening here, you're doing something other than just going to a place.
So I thought like, hey, I'm gonna come and like them more as time goes on, but Begin Again was my favorite. Mike, sorry.
I know, like you just reminded me that like this also has huge M83 Midnight City vibes.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, like it is that like 2010-ish like era where there's just kind of like bright neon lights, a lot of like heavy synths coming back into the vocabulary or soundscape. The one track that I like, that in title that stuck with me, I think, is like Dead of Night. That's the one where you're fighting the 3-headed dog
with that sick drop in it.
Yes, exactly. But I think that's also the one that like brings up one of my gripes about this game, which is that your actions don't always line up with the beat. And so it will ask you to, you know, the circle will close in on the button and you have to time it perfectly. And you would expect that the way that this game is on rails and like timed out perfectly, like they have all of the beats timed to the music, that they don't have the beats lined up with the optimal button press as a guide, was a really like head screwy thing to me, because I was like, oh, I'm listening to the song and I'm going to line this up to the beat. And instead it was, no, don't always line it up with the beat. Line it up with the button prompt that we're telling you. And that was like you know, I'm not here splitting hairs and trying to make gripes where there aren't any, but that was one where I was like, this just feels wrong. You know, like, and I want to be on beat.
And weirdly enough, I noticed that's true with some stages and not with some other ones. Some of the like that fight, like the that fight in particular, one with the giant wolf mech Cerberus
who throws yo-yos at you
that explode and shoots mines at you. God, this game's so good. Like that one definitely, there's like, okay, I'm like trying to like slide under this thing or jump to this different pathway in time with the music, but it's like just off enough. But like there's other ones that are just like dead on.
Perfect.
It was a really weird thing. I'm like, did I just mess that up? But like I've played that like 9 times, and like I don't want to sound like pretentious, but like I know rhythm games, like I know that it just isn't lined up. It's just how it is sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the thing that was screwing with my head, because there were, you know, like you'd complete a couple where it was all aligned, and then you get to one and it's like, oh no, now I need to unlearn the habit that I just formed. To get through this, or not to get through it, because I don't think we've talked about this, but this game is easy mode the definition. Like you don't, there's almost no failing. I think once you die a bunch of times, it says, do you want to skip this? Or do you want to like knock this down a level or something like that? Because you can get through this with any level. Like you don't need a like silver or above to get through. Like
score, like super doesn't matter.
Exactly. You just need to make it to the end.
And I don't know if you guys saw like the screen you mentioned, Mike, of like when Queen Latifah comes and says like, "Hey, you really suck at this. Do you want to go down a level?" I don't know how you felt, but like one, it was insulting, and two, I was like, and I know like accessibility in games, yes, but it was very jarring for me last night. I was playing in the dark. It was like 11 o'clock. It was that last level, the medley, and there was a part I just could not get by, and Queen Latifah comes on in her like dulcet tones and is like, "Hello there. This is a little hard for you. Would you like to change?" And wild.
Yeah, I like that whenever she gives you that option, there's also an option to never show this again. Which is great. I just got that like my first time playing through it, and then I'm like, okay, like I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I'm just not executing, and that's okay. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'll just well, you go off in your little corner there, and then I'll just keep playing the game, and that's fine.
That's exactly when I saw it. It was like, I am intentionally trying to do like the stretch here. Like I'm trying to get all of the little things that are out of the way to max out my score. It's not like
squares,
I need, it's not like I need to go a level down. I can complete this easily. I'm trying to perfect this run, and that's when I ended up getting it. And that's when I was like, to your point, Jacob, a little insulted by it. Cause it's like, you don't see what I'm going for here. Like I'm painting a picture.
Yeah. Or even if you're going after some of those Zodiac puzzles, which is like an added layer of different challenges.
Yeah.
Some of them require you to fail. And so I didn't have that, trying to get those puzzles and then failing. But I could imagine there are one or two of them where you will fail and Queen Latifah might come chastise you. But I don't know about y'all. I did one of them just to see kind of what the Zodiac puzzles were about. And
accidentally did one of them, and then I ended up intentionally doing another one, but I only have like 2 of them done. Like I was looking through them earlier just because I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that these like Zodiac puzzles are in here, and like the wording on them is really clever, but like I don't want to do them. Like one of them is I remember is, so once you get all golds on all stages, you unlock YOLO Arcade, which is basically the album arcade version where it's one straight run of the entire game, but if you die, you're done.
Wow.
And there's a Zodiac challenge for completing that, but getting 10 riskies, which is basically like almost hitting something at like a high speed. And no thank you.
I can't even imagine. Like you don't even get like 3 lives. It's like, no, if you can hit that once.
It is YOLO to the letter.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that is not something that I have really any intention of trying. Like me personally, I don't come to this game for, like there is some like built-in like score stuff. Like this is, for all intents and purposes a runner. And I'm not great at runners. I just like having a good time. And this game gives me a lot of that. And so I'm not going to play YOLO Arcade, but it's cool that it's there for people that want it.
Mm-hmm. The speedrunning community, maybe
how do you speedrun
there's
this game?
one time
yeah.
you can speedrun this game. I said that and I'm like, more like the challenge seekers rather than the speedrunners.
I think people who are playing through the fire and flames on perfect.
That's it. Oh, yeah.
I think there's been Sayonara Wild Hearts at a Games Done Quick, but I think it's like very clearly like a high score showcase on like the YOLO mode. Like obviously if you're watching somebody on that level do that, you want to see like the highest possible skill possible.
Right.
But
that's funny. I'd love to have like Games Done Quick time and me be like, hey, we finished at the same time.
Yeah.
World record.
I think I'd be more mad if I did like a regular album arcade run and I didn't die, but it didn't count as a YOLO. Like, I'd be like, oh, great. Like, I know I can do it then, and that would just, like, taunt me in the background forever.
How did you guys do in the game? Like, because I got 2 golds, but I know, Cam, you've played it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But a lot of golds, a lot of silvers. I got a lot of silvers, 2 golds, and maybe a few bronzes across the whole game.
I'm trying to remember. So, on my first time through, I got, like, a few golds on, like, the slower levels. Those heartbreak sequences are real fast. But again, like I think that is great narratively because all of those heartbreak, can't even say heartbreak today. All of those heartbreak sequences and everything are about like, like like the enemies that you're fighting and those heartbreak sequences. Wow. Oh my God. Like they're essentially just like you're going through like the stages of grief. Like you're going through like what you would normally expect from somebody having like a very serious breakup or something like that. But I think that those are so blisteringly fast, but like get slower over time as you get towards like, I guess for lack of a better term, like death, because death is like the final person in this game. I think that like that's a really neat kind of dichotomy with that. But yeah, I got like solidly bronzes on those. Those are real fast.
And real tough.
I got on the first 10, like more often than not, I got golds. And then after that, it was like pretty solidly bronze or silver territory, like mostly bronze, some silvers. And yeah, I just realized like, you know what? My ego would normally have me wrapped up in like getting a gold and, you know, making sure that I like beat this game well. But this time I was just like, I just need to get through this. Like, I just need to play it. I'm just along for the ride. At the end of the day, it's on rails.
Totally.
So it was a little bit easier to just put that aside and sit back and relax.
Yeah, the way that like Album Arcade works is like you get a gold, silver, or bronze rank for that. And it's like 500,000 points is bronze, 750,000 points is silver, and then 1 million is gold. Low-key shout out to myself, had my best run of it for this recording, but I still only got 900k.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because the way scoring works is every time you get like one of the like smaller heart pickups, it increases by 1, and that's cumulative. But if you die, it starts back at 1. So,
how many times would you have died then throughout that playthrough?
This playthrough, I think I died like 6 or 7 times. And it was just because like I haven't played it in a while, but it was a lot of those trees, like that area with the deer. I just have a lot of trouble with because those trees are very small and very fast.
Yeah. Again, I want to shift gears here just a smidge.
Yeah.
I want to move to a segment we call the recommendation machine.
Mm-hmm.
But before I ask you for a bunch of game recos and music recos, I want to ask you if you had to recommend the best way to play this game.
Yes.
Platform, vibe, like the room, are the lights on, and then in how many plays, what would you recommend to someone who maybe is playing this for the first time?
So I would recommend, that you try to play through it in one sitting. It's only like an hour and a half. It's not like a super long game. So if you were interested in checking this game out, which you should, and you want to play it, like I'd recommend just sitting down and devoting that time to it. I think that Apple Arcade is a neat way to play it. I don't think it's the best way to play it, specifically with touchscreen. Platform-wise, I don't think it super matters, though. I would just recommend decent sound system, headphones in if you can. If not, like, you know, just get in an area where you can like really focus on the sound. I don't think the quality is like necessarily a huge thing. Most TV speakers are fine, honestly. But play it with a controller. I've found has been probably the best way to do it. Just because, you know, if you're playing, I like fired up the Apple Arcade version a little bit, and like it just your screen, like your finger moving stuff on the screen just takes away so much visually, just because you just can't see all of it because your finger's in the way.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation for sure. It's just kind of do that. I would. If you want to play it with other people that you like know would be interested in this vibe, I'd recommend that. It's one of my favorite games to just like hand somebody a controller to, but like, you know, nothing beats just kind of hanging out by yourself, you know, having a nice drink, playing some real good Europop and having a nice cry, you know.
Man, is this game Swedish.
God, it's Swedish. Yeah. It's so good.
Feels like it came out of the Swedish pop machine. Like, it feels it is just pure pop music written by every Swede that every pop song is written by.
It's great.
Just, you know, like,
it's great.
Distilled.
Every award the soundtrack has gotten has deserved it.
I made a Neo. I said Neo by accident. I meant Neo the Matrix, but Neo's producer for all of his biggest hits is a Swedish duo that I cannot remember the name of, but they were huge in the early 2010s. It was Stargate. Stargate made music for Neo, Charlie XCX, like every Sia, like those folks, and so like I know what you're saying, Mike. Like, oh no, sorry, they're Norwegian, not Swedish, but Scandinavian. It's fine. Yeah, I would say the same. Like, play this in 1 or 2 sittings, headphones, in the dark, maybe with someone else on a console.
Yeah,
I tried to fire it up on Apple Arcade. I have a Backbone. But I just got an iPhone 13 Pro, and it doesn't fit in the Backbone, so I bought it on PlayStation 4. But I won't be crying. I'm mostly aligned to what you said.
Yeah,
Mike.
I think
any differences there.
I think that this would also probably play pretty well on an iPad. If you just had like a controller, like a Bluetooth controller with that too, I think that'd be totally fine. I just if you have to play it, if you want to play it, and the only way you can play it is with touchscreen, like that's fine. But I really do think like the best possible experience gets out of like being able to just sit and just like visualize all of it at once.
Yeah, not ideal. Recommendations about albums or games that gave you the same vibe? I know that we said a couple. Do you want to just recap those and maybe add a few different ones? Mike, why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, I'll add one more that we have not talked about yet, and that is Robin's Body Talk from, again, that like 2010-ish era. I don't remember exactly, but that's the one where she has Dancing on My Own. That is totally this game's vibe, and also Swedish. So
yeah,
I'm pretty
recorded
sure she's
in Stockholm.
Swedish.
So good one.
Yeah. I really think that, like, honestly, to me, like, the closest, like, one-to-one with the vibe is probably still, like, Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion. I just... a lot of, like, the themes of that album, too, like, about, like, loneliness, like, learning to love yourself, learning to love again. Like, I think that stuff gets touched on pretty heavily here. But also just, like, in terms of vibe and color scheme, even, like... it's funny enough, in the main character's room, like Simogo on Twitter did like a little like breakdown of like the stuff that was in her room, and a lot of the posters are just like very minimalist shape, like representation of like things that the staff were inspired by. Like there is like a very minimalist like Akira poster hanging up in her room. There's a minimalist Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion poster hanging up in her room. I'm trying to find out what the other ones are, but I'm having a hard time finding it. But they did some like really cool stuff on Twitter, basically pointing out like, hey, this is this. Hey, this is this. Like, we just kind of spelled it out pretty plainly for y'all. And I think that's really cool.
I said a few. The First Churches album. Beyond that, we've said a couple great ones. I love a DJ set by Porter Robinson from 2020, his Secret Sky set, which is like in a bedroom. There's a lot of neon, and then there's some remixes of like songs from that era. So like those are the things that I'm going to recommend. We talked about rhythm games. If you guys have any more, throw them in here. But if not, I think that closes out this part.
No, one more. Hurry Up, We're Dreaming, M83. Like we kind of talked about that, but like literally the album art for this album is the purple and blue and red, like, and pink lighting that is prevalent throughout this game and carries a lot of that same vibe. And also, everyone should listen to the Frog song. Everyone should know.
We've talked about a lot of dopeness here, but let's close it out with final thoughts. Play this game. It's available in a lot of things. You can get if you bought an iPhone, you can get a trial to Apple Arcade, and you can play Sayonara Wild Hearts for free. So that is my reco to you if you have an iPhone. Play this game, throw on some headphones, enter the world of psychedelic queerness in the best possible way. I love this game.
It's
I love
great.
this game. I'm so glad we played it again.
I absolutely adore this game. You messaged me and were like, hey, do you want to talk about Sayonara Wild Hearts? And I don't think I responded yes fast enough. Like I just like kind of went off the deep end with it. Like I
think we picked up on that.
Yeah, no kidding. I have like stickers of all of the logos for the different crews. Like I have the damn tarot cards because they sold those for a while. This is like one of those games that I will always recommend to people. Like just even without knowing like what their tastes are, if they want like a short game to play, I'm like, this is the first thing that's usually out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. I could talk about this game for like another 3 hours, but I don't think that'd be a great podcast. So it just turned into me just like slinging drinks and just drunkenly rambling about how much this game made me cry. So,
Mike, final thoughts?
Yeah, of just, a pleasurable experience. I wouldn't say I definitely did not have the experience that Cam did. But even still, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good game to spend an hour or two playing, and I'd recommend it to most people.
Cool. Well, hey, those are our thoughts about Sayonara Wild Hearts. Before we say sayonara, I hate myself.
That was
Cam,
good, though.
Why don't you? Thank you. It's even better when you acknowledge it. Cam, let us know all about your programs once again on Some Good Shows. They're all good. Talk about them and where people can find you on the internet.
Yeah, well, first you can find me on Twitter at TheCamdyMan. That's TheKamDyman. You can find my podcast at Some Good Shows or somegoodshows.biz. We've also got a bunch of weird, fun novelty URLs. Like for our My Hero Academia podcast, we do have greennaruto.com. That just takes you right there. I don't know how we managed to get that. But like we have our My Hero Academia podcast, which is like an analysis and recap show. We've got Video Game Robot Show, which is more on like the comedy side, just kind of pitching randomly generated games with myself, Nathan, and a guest. Hamburg Lore, which is about, the implicit and implied lore of all of your favorite mascots from the fast food and corporate world. That show breaks me psychically on a daily basis. And we also have Everything Ranked currently running right now, which is basically just competitive friendship is kind of what I've been calling it. But yeah, anything that I do, I occasionally stream here and there on Twitch. I'll just post about that on my Twitter account, which is, again, at TheCamdyman, TheKamdyman.
Cam, you are a gentleman and a scholar of Sayonara Wild Hearts. Thank you so much for coming back on the program today. Yeah. We love you. Hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. The show is always a blast. I genuinely love this show and what you guys do. So
thanks for nerding out with us.
Yeah, sincerely, thanks for having me. Thanks for putting up with me just gushing about this game for an hour. So.
It was our pleasure.
That's what we called you for.
Yes,
no, I know.
Talk about this game.
I'm not apologizing. I'm just thanking you for putting up with it. I regret nothing.
As you
regret nothing as well. You can find all things Left Behind Game Club at Left Behind Club on Twitter, at Left Behind Game Club on Instagram, and on our website at leftbehindgame.club. If you like cool people that talk about cool old games, you can find the link to our Discord. It's at leftbehindgame.club/Discord. A lot of cool folks in there talking about right now Game of the Year stuff because, hey, we're almost at the end of the year. 2022 is coming. Where'd the year go?
There were so many games that came out. Sorry, there's so many games that came out just earlier that I'm like, that felt like 2 years ago. You can't tell me that Hitman 3 came out this year.
Pandemic
I don't believe
time.
it.
Pandemic time.
Persona 5 Strikers, that was like 7 years ago. What are you talking about?
It Takes Two. What about that one?
Yeah, right.
2 years ago.
Yeah, wild.
Feels like
if you like this show, do us two favors. Give us a review on your podcasting platform of choice. Make sure it's 5 stars, or else I will come find you. That was violent.
I'll do it too.
And send
send
the show to a friend because that's how people find out about podcasts.
Yeah.
Michael, if folks want to find your work online, where can they do so?
You can find me at RuffaloM on most social places online or at michaelruffalo.com or .ca. I own them both. It's all about that branding, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, find me in the Discord as well. I'm fighting off nerds with spoons who are coming at me for their bad opinions and takes.
You got to do what you got to do. I get it. I understand.
That's the deal, man. That's the deal.
Can I make URL suggestions for you to buy? Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
BigMike.biz.
Good. If you don't buy that, I will.
Can you buy it for me just to like lock up the branding?
No.
I don't.
I mean, I own Jacob.biz. Don't ask me why I own that.
Wow, that's a
website.
great domain.
I was gonna buy cam.zone, and I really should have whenever I wanted to, because now somebody has it and uses it, and like there was like 1 week where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna pick this up and I'm gonna buy it and it's gonna be great, and then I'm like, let me wait till next paycheck. Next paycheck rolled around, already taken.
Yeah.
Life is pain, existence is meaningless. Buy that domain right now.
I'm real big on buying these XYZ domains right now. And
Yeah.
I'm going to get some .eth ones and
We
just a bunch.
We've got some real stupid ones over at SGS, but this is a PG show, so I probably can't talk about some of them. So,
why don't you just say them and then I'll blank them out if I need to.
Okay, so we do have, they're not like terrible. The link to our Patreon is bigbone.zone.
I love that one.
We also have biggerbone.zone. Because that was going to be like a higher tier, but we just ended up keeping it. Let's see. We've got John.com, which is about the Garfield strip in which John Arbuckle goes to a vet and drinks a vial of in which he is told by the veterinarian that he will be having healthy puppies. What else? There's a whole lot of other ones. The TrixRabbit.com is our Hamburglar link. Yeah, just cut it. Just cut it. Get out. I love stupid domains so much, y'all. Like, it's a problem.
I'm going to bleep these out because it'll be more comedic if I do.
That's a good idea.
I own Jacob.business, not Jacob.biz, which is less good, but still.
I think those are both great, honestly.
Yeah.
I kind of like Jacob.business.
I like the TLDRs, like the dots that are longer than the actual like thing preceding it. You know,
Yeah.
There's something very comedic about it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like I tried to go for something short, but I went for something accidentally long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oopsie, I made a poopsie.
Exactly.
You can't find me at Jacob.business yet, but you can find me at Jacob McCourt on all major social media platforms. JACOBMCCOURT. I host another podcast called Cutscenes. It is a video game movie podcast that we do seasonally. Season 3 just wrapped up, but you can check that out on all major podcasting platforms and at cutscenes.ca. Michael, close out the show for us. Oh my God. Michael, close out the show for us, my friend.
And that, my friends, is one less game left behind.
Hey, I'm Jacob McCourt.
I'm Katie Lesbrance.
And I'm Travis Colnett.
We are hosting a brand new podcast called Cutscenes.
There are tons of video game podcasts and tons of TV film podcasts, but we're going to bring you the intersection of both and talk about video game, movies, and TV.
I know what you're thinking. Aren't most of them not very good? Wrong. Some of them are fine. And we're going to tell you all about them.
Make sure to subscribe on your podcasting platform of choice. Follow us on Twitter at cutscenes_pod. And most importantly, give us a listen.
See you soon.
Cutscenes, a video game movie podcast.